The Atlanta Braves offense, and particularly in the outfield, has struggled most of the season, but the answers could be lying in wait at Gwinnett. We'll talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Check out the podcast there at Locked On _Braves on X and Locked On Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and leave me a comment down below. And if you're listening on the audio version, you can help out as well by leaving me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen to each and every day. Big shout out to all my everydayers out there who tune in, come in just to leave a comment in the comment section to help out the algorithms. I really do appreciate you all so much for all of that. Today's episode, we're going to bounce around a little bit. We're going to talk about the MLB draft, where the Braves could be taking the hottest pitcher in the draft right now. We're also going to talk about the minor league spotlight, where there are some offensive answers at Gwinnett. There weren't a couple of weeks ago, but now you could be seeing some offensive answers getting close for the Atlanta Braves to help out. We'll get into all of that and set you up for the Tuesday's game for the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets, where Spencer Strider will be on the mound. So let's start with our minor league spotlight. I know I normally do this in the second segment, but I really want to focus on Gwinnett because there's three hitters in particular at Gwinnett right now that the Atlanta Braves could possibly use. And one in particular is Jurickson Profar. And we all know the situation with Jurickson Profar, big offseason addition, came in first week of the season, gets popped for PEDs, and has been gone ever since. He is set to return on July 2nd. And all he has done in his, I keep calling it a rehab stint, he's just getting warmed up for the season, playing at the AAA level. He's not injured or coming back from an injury. He's coming back from a suspension. But all he's done is hit so far. Last week, he went 10 for 25 with a double, 2 home runs, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts. And again, I know it's the AAA level, but that's kind of what we were expecting Jurickson Profar to be, a guy that walks just as much as he strikes out, gets on base, a little bit of power. And the Braves could really use that in the lineup. They've been desperately searching for that 2-hole hitter. Again, could you imagine a lineup right now if Profar, can hit like that, and you can go Acuna, Profar, Olsen, Ozuna, Riley, and on down, and then the ball winner Murphy, and then you got Ozzie and Harris and Allen bringing up the rear. It just really would lengthen the lineup a lot if Profar can come back and be that guy. Like I said, he's come back July 2nd. Snit already said he's coming back, and he's put him in the 2-hole. And with the reduction that he's gotten so far from him, I can see why. I mean, he is this is my hope for Profar, and I've said this before. I hope he comes out and is on a mission. And you know what? Everybody, when they get popped, they said, I didn't realize it. I didn't know. And maybe he didn't, but everybody says that. Either way, I hope that he comes back and he is motivated to prove that whatever he got popped for, it had nothing to do with his 2024 season, that the swing changes were legit, that we do see some of that power, and that we always see, or that we see that on-base ability that has always been there for him. So that is my hope with Profar. But again, off to a fantastic start at AAA. And if he can continue that, getting brought up for the Braves, it will solve the left field issue in a big way that the Braves have desperately needed. They've been searching for all year out there, whether it was without Acuna and without Profar. They've been searching for somebody in that left field spot to help them out. Now, another bat, and this is one we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now, is Carlos Rodriguez. 7 for 20 last week, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. He's been at AAA for 57 games now, and he's slashing 303, 362, 356. Now, you don't like seeing that slugging percentage lower than your on-base percentage, but when your on-base is 362, it's not all that bad. But this is certainly not a power hitter. 8.6% walk rate. That's not, fantastic, but certainly not terrible. An 11.6% strikeout rate is fantastic. It means he's putting the ball in play. 100 WRC plus. So again, it's not like we're talking about an overpowering player in Carlos Rodriguez, an 053 ISO. So again, not a lot of power here, and 9 stolen bases and 14 chances is not great success rate, but he can run. So you're looking at a guy that maybe can hit for average, can definitely put the ball in play, will walk a little bit, and has some speed. So he does some different things for you. He's mostly been playing in a corner. I can't speak to his defensive versatility and his ability to play center field, where he has started 8 games this year in center. But I would imagine he's probably not. And look, anybody, and we're obviously talking about if they were to replace Michael Harris here, because obviously Profar is going to replace Eli White, Alex Verdugo in left field. Rodriguez would be the replacement in center field. But if they feel like he can handle it, and look, anybody is going to be a downgrade defensively from what Michael Harris gives you. The biggest reason that Michael Harris is still in the Atlanta Braves outfield right now, I believe, is because he's playing Gold Glove level defense. Similar to why Nick Allen is the Brave shortstop right now. But how many guys can you have in the bottom 15% or bottom 15 just in period and all of baseball offensively and be Gold Glovers? Like, you got to give something. And you know me, I'm a defensive first guy, and I love having that defensive player up the middle at short and center, but you got to give me something offensively. And those two guys, Nick Allen and Michael Harris in particular, have been the worst players offensively. So again, Carlos Rodriguez wouldn't be a huge upgrade in terms of power, or, he'd be another bottom of the order bat, but it is somebody that can do a little bit for you and maybe can hit for some average, get on base. He's going to put the ball in play, but Michael Harris does that. He at least generally puts the ball in play. His swing decisions are just completely awful. And again, we'll talk about that more later in the week. And then the other player that I wanted to talk about is Nacho Alvarez. 6 for 14 this past week, a double, a homer, 7 walks to 1 strikeout. And we've had the Ozzie Albies conversation, and I get it. You can't really, I don't want to say you can't. It's hard to take out Michael Harris because of his defense. It's hard to take out Ozzie Albies because of his leadership and what he brings to you. But if you're talking about just strictly putting the best bats in the lineup right now, and again, a small sample size from Nacho Alvarez that we've seen coming back, and certainly the sample size at the major league level hasn't been good. But I think there's a world in which Nacho Alvarez just becomes a better bat than Ozzie Albies this year. There's a chance that Carlos Rodriguez just gives you better at bats than Michael Harris gives you this year. I'm not saying we're there yet, but I'm saying if things continue to go, and how long can you really wait? I mean, you need every win that you can get. How long can you continue to wait? And again, we're going to talk about this more in a podcast later this week about Michael Harris and Ozzie Albies, but are Nacho Alvarez, if you just inserted Nacho at second and you inserted Carlos Rodriguez in center, again, assuming that he can at least play a halfway decent center field, is that a better offensive lineup than what you are putting out right now? Including the addition of Profar. If you put Profar on left, Rodriguez in center, and Nacho at second, does that give you a better chance offensively than what the Braves are getting right now from White and Verdugo, Michael Harris and Ozzie? Maybe. Again, I don't know that it's a definite, but I think it's something to consider. And those guys certainly coming off really good weeks at Gwinnett. Somebody not coming off a good week, but just still mention him because he's there. Jarred Kelenic, 4 for 28 last week, a double, a walk, and 12 strikeouts. Again, I've been rooting for the Jarred Kelenic story and wanting him to figure it out. I just don't think he's an Atlanta Brave too much longer. They're going to give somebody else a chance to try to figure him out. I feel like his days are coming to an end for the Atlanta Braves. But there are some answers at AAA now offensively, and that feels really good to say. On the pitching side, Jackson Stephens, 4 innings, no hits, 1 walk, no earned, and 9 strikeouts the other day. Good performance from him. Davis Daniel, 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 walks, 1 earned, and 6 strikeouts. Nathan Wiles made 2 starts last week. The first one, 6 innings, 6 hits, no walks, 4 earned, 2 home runs, and no strikeouts. And then in the second one, 7 innings, 7 hits, no walks, 2 earned, 2 home runs again, and 6 strikeouts. I don't know how you go from facing the same team twice in 1 week. You don't strike out anybody the first time, and you strike out 6 batters the next time. So that's kind of interesting, but at least it's giving you some length. And look, those are your next options: Davis Daniel, Nathan Wiles. I wanted to mention Hurston Waldrop because he didn't pitch at all last week. He hasn't pitched since June 15th. He could have made the start last Friday instead of calling on the 20-year-old, but they don't go with Hurston Waldrop, and then he doesn't pitch at all. And you just wonder, are they giving him extra rest to call him up? Or hopefully nothing's wrong there. I haven't heard any reports on that, but just interesting that he didn't pitch last week. Some other notable performances. We talk about help coming in the form of some offense and Profar and Rodriguez. Could be some help maybe on the bullpen side of things. Hayden Harris, 2 2/3 innings, 2 hits, did walk 3, but no earned runs and 4 strikeouts. Giancarlo Lara, if he could just bottle up these performances and be consistent with them. 2 innings last week, no hits, no walks, no earned runs, 3 strikeouts. You see everything that Giancarlo Lara can be as a reliever. It's just, he's got to be more consistent with it. You got to stop seeing these blow-up outings where he just completely loses command of all of his pitches. Particularly the fastball. Michael Peterson, 2 1/3, no hits, no walks, no earned, and 3 strikeouts. And Wander Suero, 3 innings, 1 hit, no walks, no earned, and 2 strikeouts. So some possible additions there to the bullpen. But I wanted to touch a little bit more on the starting pitching because I talked about what's possibly on deck offensively. But now with Chris Sale on the IL, we've already seen Didier Fuentes, get his opportunity. If he doesn't work out, what's next? Like I said, you're looking at Davis Daniel, Nathan Wiles, Hurston Waldrop. Could be those next guys up. They also moved up Adam Mayer from high A straight to triple A. A little bit older guy, but was delayed early on in his Braves tenure with injury, but is having a good season. The season that, a lot of people thought he could have when he was drafted. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 4 earned on 2 home runs. Home runs, were coming in bunches against Gwinnett last week, 5 strikeouts. So that might be another one to keep an eye on. Braves being aggressive with some of these young guys, but those will be some of the next ones up if Fuentes, doesn't fit in the Braves rotation or isn't able to stick in the Braves rotation. All right, next, I want to get into the MLB draft and get into the rest of the minor league highlights from last week. We'll do all that here next. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to get in on the action. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even a regular season games feel like must-watch events. I don't know about you, all 162 are watch events for baseball. Whether you're placing a same game parlay or watching a bet right into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. Also, make sure you visit FanDuel.com/play-safe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out the guys over at Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day. Solely, the guys are going to be game night, getting you caught up from everything happening around Major League Baseball. And in case you're wondering, I am recording this on Monday night during the game. Braves currently up 3-2 after a very unfortunate Juan Soto home run. But getting ahead of things coming back here from vacation. You want to get my thoughts on this game, go back and listen to the postcast that me and Lindsay did on Monday night, because I won't really be getting into that much on today's episode. But I do want to get back into the minor league segment and into the MLB draft. But we'll finish up the minor league spotlight first, going down to Columbus, where Drew Compton was 7 for 22 with 2 doubles, a home run, 2 walks, and a stolen base last week. Steven Pellini, 6 for 10 with a double, a walk, and 4 stolen bases. And Adam Zabrowski with 3 home runs. Cody Milligan, 5 hits, including a double and a home run, 6 walks, and 3 stolen bases. And on the pitching side, Lucas Braun, 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, 5 strikeouts. I thought maybe he could be in line. I know it's been a little rough go for him here lately, but I thought he might be the next man up if they were going to go with a young arm. Brett Sears, 7 innings, 4 hits, no walks, 1 earned, and 5 strikeouts. Ian Mejia, 6 innings, 3 hits, 4 walks, 3 earned, and 4 strikeouts. J.R. Ritchie, 5 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 walks, 4 earned, and 4 strikeouts. And Blake Burkhalter, 5 1/3 innings, 7 hits, no walks, 3 earned, 3 strikeouts. So some good pitching performances there. Certainly some arms at Double-A. If the Braves wanted to, again, skip a level or two and call up another pitcher to kind of help them get through all of this, there are some interesting arms there at Columbus. At Rome, not much to speak of on the hitting side of things. Keyshawn Ogans had 5 hits, including a double, and walked 3 times, but not really much else happening at Rome last week. On the pitching side, though, Eric Hernandez had maybe his best start of the year, 7 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 2 earned, and 9 strikeouts. Garrett Ballman, 5 innings, 2 hits, 4 walks, no earned, and 7 strikeouts. And then Jacob Kroger continues to be on this list just about every week. 4 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, no earned, and 4 strikeouts. And then at Augusta, Owen Carey, 8 for 22 with a triple and a walk. Mason Guerra, 8 for 22, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 3 walks, bringing some of that power down there at Augusta. 9 home runs and a 473 slug on the year for Mason Guerra. And then Colin Burgess, 7 for 12 in just 3 games with 2 doubles. On the pitching side for Augusta, Samuel Mejia pitched in 2 games, went 8 innings in total, 2 hits, did walk 6, but only 1 earned run and 9 strikeouts. Owen Hackman, 6 1/3 innings, 2 hits, no walk, 2 earned, and 7 strikeouts. And then Cam Caminiti, 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, but no earned runs and 6 strikeouts. And then Raven Antonio, I've been mentioning him almost every week here on the podcast. 5 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, did hit a batter, but no earned runs and 4 strikeouts. A 19-year-old from Columbia, 11 games started this year, a 2.92 ERA, a 1.07 whip, 49 1/3 innings, just 17 walks to 53 strikeouts and a 200 batting average against. So has been really, really good. Chris Clegg, who does a great job, covering the minors, mainly for fantasy baseball purposes, but does a great job covering prospects and minor leaguers. He mentioned him as a potential, another one for the Atlanta Braves pitching development system with a 4-seamer that sits in 95, 98 mile per hour range with good command of both a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer, along with a slider and a changeup. So maybe another one to watch there. And Raven Antonio. And then finally, Justin Long, 2 innings, no hits, no walks, no earned, and 4 strikeouts with Augusta. At the rookie levels in the Florida Complex League, Juan Mateo, 5 for 18 this past week, a double, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. John Estevez, 3 for 11 with 2 doubles, a home run, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Luis Guanipa, who's working his way back from injury, 3 for 11 with a double, 3 walks to 5 strikeouts. And Jose Perdomo still yet to really have that big week and get going, just 2 for 17 with 1 walk to 5 strikeouts. And on the pitching side at the Complex League, Royber Salinas also working his way back, maybe an option for the bullpen at some point this year. 2 games, 3 innings, no hits, 1 walk, no earned, and 1 strikeout. And then Diego Torrens in the Dominican Summer League, 10 for 19 last week, a double, a triple, 3 strikeouts to 3 walks, and 9 stolen bases, 12 for 12 on steals so far, and has multiple hits in 5 of his last 6 games. So Diego Torrens is getting off to that impressive start that you really wanted to see. So that's really great for Diego Torrens. Hopefully that will continue. And then Rowdy Reyes, 2 1/3 innings, 4 hits, walks 5 batters, 3 earned, 5 strikeouts. So far for Rowdy Reyes, 13 walks and 13 strikeouts in 8 2/3 innings. So some big time stuff, as we knew, for the young kid, the young pitcher that the Braves just signed in the international signing period, but certainly some command issues there to work out. I want to get into the draft really quickly, as we did have an updated mock draft from both MLB Pipeline and ESPN in the last week. Just kind of go over some of the top picks and where they have the Braves, or who they have the Braves going with. And MLB Pipeline, their update on June 20th, they had Holiday, Anderson, and Arquette in the top 3 picks, which is interesting. I was not as impressed with Arquette, really tall, if you're going to stick at shortstop. And then they had Jamie Arnold at 4th. I think the top 3 for me are Holiday, Anderson, and Arnold. I think those are the pretty clear top 3 at this point. That's what Kylie McDaniel had for ESPN. He had Anderson. He had Anderson, Doyle, and Arnold up there. I think Anderson, with the performance he put on in the College World Series, has probably moved his way into that top 3 discussion. So that's who I would think. Kylie McDaniel had Anderson, Doyle, Arnold, and Holiday, which I would agree. Doyle would probably be that 4th one for me. But somewhere, in that area, those are probably the top 4 or 5 names right now for the draft. MLB Pipeline had Doyle going to 8. I think that's probably a little bit low. They had Gavin Keelan at 11. That was my top choice about a month ago. We started doing MLB draft prep. I was hoping that Gavin Keelan from Tennessee would slip to the Braves at 22. I'm not seeing him go any later than 15 in any of the mock drafts I've seen lately. They had Daniel Pierce going at 12, which is about the highest that I've seen him go. That's the high school shortstop from the Georgia area that I would love to fall to the Braves at 22, but I also haven't seen him going much lower than like 15 or 16 in the mock drafts lately. Ike Irish is another name that I've seen. They have him going at 15. Again, he's another one. He seems to be going up instead of down. Merrick Houston, who was mocked to the Braves in several drafts earlier in the mock draft season, they have him going at 18. And then Jay Slaviolette, I keep mentioning him. So far, I haven't seen a mock that has him go past 20, but many of the mock drafts I've looked at lately have him at about that 20 range, which is getting really close to the Braves. And I know they probably want to go pitcher, but a big bat like Jace Lavalette, who this time last year was pretty much the consensus 1-1 pick. And I know it was a down year for him at Texas A&M, but that team just had a lot of strange things happen. They had a new coach. Their team was, the clear top pick coming into the season, and they just cratered and fell apart. I'm not making some excuses there for Lavalette, but it's certainly a very powerful bat. I mean, everybody was looking at a Jack Caglione, comparison to what Jace Lavalette could be. So if he somehow slips to the Braves at 22, I just don't think you can pass that up. And again, he's getting really close. Most of the mocks I see he's somewhere in that 18 to 20 range. Now, the MLB Pipeline latest mock had the Braves taking Gage Wood out of Arkansas. And in case you missed it or you didn't follow the College World Series, he had one of the most dominating performances in a postseason that you've ever seen. Complete game, 19 strikeouts in the College World Series. Just really, really impressive stuff. Elimination game. And he's somebody I talked about at the beginning of the draft prep season as somebody that was injured early in the year, so was working his way back, kind of felt like a Braves target as somebody that maybe people were sleeping on because he was injured. Well, nobody's sleeping on him anymore. And in fact, in Kylie McDaniel's mock draft, he had Wood going at 16. So I don't know that Gage Wood's going to get to the Braves at 22 now, but if they did, I think it would be a really good pick. And it's somebody that, with as aggressive as the Braves have been calling up pitching prospects, I think Gage Wood is one of those rare exceptions that you could draft and probably put in your bullpen by year's end, especially with him not having the heavy workload because he was injured this year. I think if you were to draft Gage Wood this year, he could be in your bullpen by the end of the season. Now, obviously, long-term, you want him to be a starter, but I'm just talking about for this year. I think he's somebody that the Braves drafted. He might be in the bullpen sooner rather than later. Schoolcraft is a high school arm that a lot of people have linked to the Braves. MLB Pipeline had him going at 23. Another name worth mentioning we haven't talked a lot about is UC Santa Barbara right-handed pitcher Tyler Brimner. He was considered a top 10 pick coming into the spring and then had a bit of a slow start for UC Santa Barbara, but really picked things up late and is now starting to rise back up the board. So could be a chance for the Braves to get somebody that was considered a top 10 pick coming into the season at 22. So certainly keep an eye on that. If they didn't go pitcher, Andrew Fisher is a big power bat that could be available to them at 22. Some other names to look at: Riley Quick from Alabama, Zach Root, another Arkansas pitcher, Max Ballou. Nobody's really been tying him to the Braves, but it's a bat. Again, if you wanted to go with an outfield bat there, I do like Max Ballou. Caden Bodine, the catcher for Coastal Carolina, he had a really good postseason and is starting to rise up a little bit. Cam Cannarella from Clemson. I don't think the Braves would do it, but for the excitement value, getting somebody like Cam Cannarella, who's just, I mean, he might hit for a batting title. I mean, he is just a pure hitter, and it's just what kind of power are you going to get out of him? And he's just an electric type of player. And then you look at ESPN's latest mock draft done on June 18th by Kylie McDaniel. I mentioned Anderson Doyle and Arnold and Holiday were his top four, and then Irish at 8, Keelan at 14, Wood at 16, Merrick Houston at 18, Laviolette at 19, Caden Bodine, we just talked about, at 20. And then he actually had the Braves taking Tyler Brimner, who we just discussed, at 22. Kylie McDaniel also says the Braves, he's heard about Brimner, Houston, Wood, and Bodine mentioned there for the Braves at 22. Fisher, that I talked about, the big bat from Tennessee, had him going at 24 overall. Daniel Pierce at 28, and Cannarella at 30. Some of the other names that I've talked about that I think could be interesting for the Braves at 22nd overall. So we're getting pretty close now. Again, that the draft is coming up here in the middle of July, starting July 13th through 15th. The Braves have the 22nd, 60th, 96th, 127th, and 136th picks overall, with that freed comp pick at 136. They also have pick 157. So some big picks coming up for the Atlanta Braves. Some that, again, could help out pretty quickly if they go that college route with the arms, getting somebody like a Gage Wood, even a Tyler Brimner, somebody like that. Could be some guys that they push through rather quickly. All right, next we'll get into some news of the day and set you up for Tuesday's game between the Braves and the Mets. We'll do all of that here next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? We just got back from vacation, and I am definitely wondering, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, summer vacations, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Been married for almost 10 years, celebrating that this upcoming August. And I can tell you, having something to help you out financially to get on the same page is wonderful and will help out your marriage a ton. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Well, not much news from the day. You had Ronald Acuna Jr. moving up to 4th in the NL All-Star voting, which I think I mentioned on Monday's episode, but not much else to speak of at this point for the Atlanta Braves. I will just mention, as I'm watching this game live, it's 3-2 in the 8th inning, and it's not feeling good. But again, you want to hear more about that game, go listen to the postcast that me and Lindsay will do on it. Later in the week, we're going to talk more about Michael Harris and Ozzie Albies, and we'll have our mailbag episode on Friday. Yesterday, Monday's podcast, I recapped what happened over the weekend, and the Atlanta Braves just, having a good run, but just not doing enough. And you have to do more than is expected of you right now with the hole that you put yourself in. Tuesday's matchup for the Braves and the Mets starting at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. It will be Spencer Strider versus Frankie Montas. Strider, 6 innings in 3 straight starts now, so you're getting that length from Spencer Strider again, which is great to see. 5 hits or less in those starts, with 13 and 8 strikeouts in his last 2 and just 1 walk in each of his last 2. So he seems to be trending in the right direction. Fastball velo starting to tick up just ever so slightly, but the command even more so is what's important for Spencer Strider. He will be facing the Mets for the second time in a week, now facing them on the road. They can be a frustrating team for him to face if they're fouling off all those pitches. You've seen it get to Strider before, but hopefully he can repeat that performance that he had against them in Atlanta and continue this upward trend that Spencer Strider is on. Now, on the other side, Frankie Montas, 6 rehab starts so far for Frankie Montas, who missed the beginning of the year due to a right lat strain that he suffered in spring training. 12.05 ERA, 2.14 whip, and 18 2/3 innings with 10 walks and 12 strikeouts. It has not been a good time for Frankie Montas. And were the Mets not desperate for starting pitching right now, as they're missing a couple of guys? I don't know that Montas would be getting this opportunity, but they need some guys to come in and pitch some big innings for them. He did complete 5 innings in his last start. That's the deepest he's gone in his rehab outing so far, and he gave up 5 earned on 7 hits with 1 walk over 5 innings with 2 strikeouts. Not striking out anybody, not necessarily walking a ton of batters. 10 walks and 18 2/3 innings certainly isn't great, but those have gotten better here as of late. Had somewhat of a bounce back last year with the Reds and the Brewers, posting a 4.84 ERA and a 1.37 whip and 150 2/3 innings with 148 strikeouts. The Mets, who have done a fantastic job of taking pitchers like this on the rebound, were kind of looking to get their career back together and doing great things with them. You saw it last year with Severino, and you've seen it with Sean Manaea. So they're hoping to do the same thing here with Frankie Montas. But again, started the season injured, hasn't been great in his rehab starts, and they're hoping they can come up and maybe something will just click for him at the big league level. But it's another matchup that looks good on paper, but can the offense get it done? Can the offense take advantage of Frankie Montas? They didn't do enough against Paul Blackburn early on in that game. Had a chance to knock him out, put up a crooked number, and just weren't able to do that. Can they do that against Frankie Montas and give Spencer Strider the run support that he needs to just kind of relax, throw strikes, not have to be so perfect? So that'll be the plan for the Braves on Tuesday, that hopefully they can get it done. Hopefully Spencer Strider, again, continues that upward trend. Even if the velocity isn't there, it's just seeing that command, getting more confidence with that velocity. And obviously we know how good the slider can be, but it's seeing that team a second time in a week when you're just a 2-pitch pitcher and a team like the Mets that can frustrate you and put up some good at-bats. That's the only thing that really scares me with Spencer Strider. But again, it's a pitching matchup for the Atlanta Braves that if their offense can do what it should do, and maybe I should stop saying that because maybe I don't know what this Braves offense should do anymore, but it's a pitching matchup that If Strider just doesn't have it, and maybe they get to him for 3 or 4 runs, can your offense overcome that? Again, it's a pitcher on the other side that has a ERA over 12 in his rehab starts, hasn't pitched at the big leagues all year, probably isn't going to go too deep in the game. He's only gone 5 innings once all season. It should be a game where you could overcome a struggling start by your starter if you have one. But we just can't count on this Braves offense to do that in those matchups. But hopefully they can on Tuesday. Hopefully Strider goes out there and just dominates once again. And hopefully the offense does what I'm hoping that they can do. Again, maybe it's not so much anymore what they should do, but what I hope they can do, and puts up a big number. Well, that would do this episode of a Locked On Braves. Again, you want to hear more about Monday night's game, go back and listen to the postcast with me and Lindsay. We'll be back on that Tuesday night, and we'll have 3 more episodes coming your way this week, including one about Michael Harris and what the Braves need to do with him, and as well as a mailbag episode coming your way this Friday. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe button, all the good things to help us out here at Locked On Braves, and we will talk to you next time.